Hey y'all, I'm Willow. Welcome to my channel. Today, I want to discuss how gender and sex are not the same. I will run through the definitions of each and then try to explain how the two terms are connected but are different as category labels. This will be as simple as I can make it, and because of this, I will leave out some of the science behind sex and gender, as it will not be necessary for this explanation. I will do a more in-depth video on each later. We will also be concentrating on the noun form of each of these words because both have verb forms. So let's begin with the word most people tend to rely on when talking about trans topics: sex. According to the Oxford Languages Dictionary, the definition of the noun form of the word sex is either of the two main categories, male and female, into which humans and most other living things are divided on the basis of their reproductive functions. This is the second definition, but the first deals with the activity, so is not needed here. We will be focusing on this one. However, we need to do a little bit better with this word because definitions in dictionaries typically show how a word is used by everyday people. This is only a problem here because when it is brought up when talking about trans people, the commonly used form is conflated with the scientific definition, and they are actually not the same. The scientific definition adds the word typically to the beginning of the definition. Remember this word typically for later. And this seems sometimes to be done on purpose by some of the more informed people who understand the major differences between the two word uses. This category system and the extreme complexity will be a topic for another video of mine later on. For now, in less complicated terms, this category most often is based on multiple factors, each ranging between male and female. Typically, it is aligned with genitalia, reproductive organs, chromosomes, and hormones. Remember that word typically? This word means not always. And any exception to a rule makes the rule no longer strict. Over time, the word has evolved as we learned more about sex and reproduction and gained more data in biology, at least in the science fields. Now for gender, the more simple term. According to the Oxford Languages Dictionary, the definition of the noun form of the word gender is the male sex or the female sex, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones, or one of a range of other identities that do not correspond to established ideas of male and female. As you can already see, there is clearly a difference. It of course, includes the two main sex categories of male and female, but clarifies it is in reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. Gender is very complex. It actually consists of a few subcategories: gender roles, gender identity, and gender expression. There may be others I have not come across yet, but these will do for now. Gender roles can be used to describe roles society prescribes to certain genders in them, but also they could just be referencing the genders themselves. In some cultures, such as the Bugis in Indonesia, I hope I pronounced that right, recognize more than two genders. The Bugis recognize 5 different genders. I will leave a link below to Britannica on this and a few other cultures who have more than two genders. Gender identity, in basic terms, is how someone feels and understands their own gender in relation to their sex, which is closer to the definition from Oxford for gender. Gender expression is basically how we present ourselves based on societal views of gender. This is why we have those subcategories of the commonly used genders that are so well known. So, gender is super simply complicated, and it varies so greatly between so many factors. Now, I'm sure most of you can clearly see how these two terms are not the same, but I want to show you an example of how it could not be anyhow. We can use the one used by the opposition to trans people. They define woman, which is a gender term, as adult human female. If gender and sex were the same, there would be no need for those extra two words. It would simply be a woman is female. But then we would have to say that other animals with sex categories can be women, and ignore the fact we do not call female humans under certain ages women. But let's take a little bit deeper of a look. Let's ignore the problem of the words adult and human. The moment anyone who is not female possesses any factor needed to be a woman, or a woman does not possess a factor they claim is needed, that factor is no longer needed, making it not useful for exclusion. And this happens with every single factor. And contrary to their beliefs in science, the exceptions absolutely make the rule. At the very least, makes them unable to exclude anyone. So, hopefully, this rundown of sex and gender and how they are related, but truly different, helped some of you. Please remember, this is very simplified, so some things won't be exact. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments. If you believe I've gotten something wrong, also let me know. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more. Please like the video if you appreciated it, and I will see you all in the next video.